Hello, lovely people. Welcome to VP's Pitara. Today is Saturday, 7:30 p.m., and it is time for yet another story. The story is titled Jasmine, so let us give it a begin. Jasmine. It was a Monday, the first day of the new month, when Jasmine came to the office for the first time. Shashank would never forget the day. It was a low day at work. The happenings of the weekend played heavily on his mind. It had started with a silly argument and then snowballed into a major showdown with his wife. They had not exchanged a word the entire Sunday. The Monday morning had been no different. Shashank knew he was at fault, but had refused to give in. He had walked out of the house without his lunchbox. He regretted his behavior. In a sudden afterthought, he reached for his phone to call Anjali. Hi, the energetic greeting interrupted the moment. A young girl stood at the opening of the cubicle. Her smile complemented her looks. She adjusted her bifocal glasses and extended her hand. I am Jasmine. Jasmine was from New Zealand and she had joined the organization as an editor. It was the global communication and publication. Shashank headed the marketing division. It's my first day at work, sir. The smile had not left her face. Curiosity got the better of Shashank, and he couldn't help asking, how come you chose to come to Lucknow? What he really wanted to ask her was, why leave a beautiful place like New Zealand and travel thousands of miles to be in the small city? Not to forget the heat and the dust. She did not seem to mind the question. She offered her signature smile and then her reply. Married, sir. I have married a Lucknow boy. When Shashank finally managed to make that call to his wife later in the day, it was Jasmine that he chose to break the ice. Anjali, you would not believe who has joined our office today. To Shashank's relief, Anjali did not disconnect. You always wanted to go to New Zealand, and today a girl from that place has come to the office. She's married to a guy here in Lucknow. He continued. They met on the internet, and then one thing led to the other. That's nice, Anjali replied. Do you think it would be a good idea to invite Jasmine and her husband home for dinner someday? I think so. Over the next quarter, the global intonation to the company's business name truly got a fillip from the day Jasmine walked into the office. At least in spirits, the makeover was swift as curiosity gave way to leg pulling and finally settled in the healthy confines of familiarity without contempt. The lingua franca of a tongue gone berserk, which incidentally belonged to a white girl, brought the initial guffaws. No amount of admonition or cold stares helped the issue, as Jasmine's colleagues revelled in making her utter sentences and words of hitherto alien existence in the English language. Jasmine played along, unmindful of the humor at her cost. I really don't mind, sir. It's a unique situation for them. It will settle down once the novelty wears out. Plus, I'm learning so much. Her maturity was much ahead of her years. The taunts soon subsided and impromptu Hindi lessons became the norm. मैं अच्छी हूँ, मैं बहुत अच्छी हूँ. Chaste Hindi pronunciations reverberated in the corridors, and Jasmine blended with the office system as a fish takes to water. However, one question hung in the air, and none of Jasmine's compulsions or choices seemed sufficient to justify it. Why leave New Zealand and come and settle down here in Lucknow, of all the places? It was love on the internet, innocuous exchanges on the Facebook multiplied, love blossomed, and matrimony was not far behind. Then she would proudly fish out her husband's picture from her handbag. It was evident in the eyes of others that no one envied her, but yes, her husband was surely one lucky man. Postcard images of New Zealand, the meadows, the coastal life, the dairy treasures, the great outdoors floated sententiously. Shashank too had on many occasions transported himself and his life to a coastal village in New Zealand, owning a fishing boat as well. With both Hindu and Christian lineage, Jasmine had a happy childhood in a northeastern coastal village of New Zealand. Though she was very, I'll do this again. With both Hindu and Christian lineage, Jasmine had a happy childhood in a northeastern coastal village of New Zealand. Though she was very close to her mother, it was her father from whom she claimed she inherited her magnanimity. It wasn't till late in the afternoon, when Shashank had gone over the draft of the next week's presentation for the fourth time, that he was reminded of the evening dinner over the phone by his wife. Of course, he would be home early. Anjali, his wife, had proposed the get-together of Shashank's office friends. It would be a nice way to welcome Jasmine too. Spouses were an essential part of the retinue. Anjali too was curious to meet the Kiwi girl who had left everything behind to be with her love. An affirmation of long-distance relationships. The scene changes. Both Anjali and Shashank were no party people. But when they invited, nobody missed or could tender an excuse. Shashank was expecting a full house. The faint scent of rose and marigold wafted in the spacious living area, which merged into the small drawing room. The soft flickering candle flame seemed to set the evening mood as Ghulam Ali's Chupke Chupke floated in the air. It was precisely 8:30 when the doorbell sounded. It was the agreed time. Shashank, till today, distinctly remembers crossing the living room as he reached for the door latch and swung it open. The scene that unfolded before him would haunt him for the rest of his life. Before him stood Jasmine in her evening finery, clutching a bunch of chrysanthemums in her arm, the smile never leaving her face. On her left stood her husband. The man barely rose to 4 feet from the ground. His height finishing around Jasmine's waist. Both legs polio infested. He could barely stand without Jasmine's support. It was precisely 8:30 when the doorbell sounded. It was the agreed time. Shashank, till today, distinctly remembers crossing the living room as he reached for the door latch and swung it open. The scene that unfolded before him would haunt him for the rest of his life. Before him stood Jasmine in her evening finery, clutching a bunch of chrysanthemums in her arm, the smile never leaving her face. On her left stood her husband, the man barely rose to 4 feet from the ground, his height finishing around Jasmine's waist, both legs polio infested. He could barely stand without Jasmine's support. Shashank stood rooted at the doorway. Cliche expressions like baby stuck in a puddle or the deer caught against the beam of a car's headlight seemed frivolous. His head was spinning and no words came out as Jasmine's husband extended his hand for a shake and support. People, I ended the story right here. I've told you the story as it happened and when it happened. People, thank you so much for watching Jasmine. I'll be back again, but not before this message that please don't forget to share, like, ring the bell, subscribe. If you like VP's Pitara and the stories, please don't hold yourself. I'll be back soon, next Saturday, with more such interesting stories. So, all you lovely people, writers, dreamers, please take good care of yourself and, of course, be yourself. I'll see you soon. Bye bye.